you might as well enjoy the trip as we begin our special Tony voyage on this Saturday morning, the day before the 67th Annual Tony Awards in New York. But we're here in beautiful northern Colorado, coming out of the university here, University of Northern Colorado, UNC. And in fact, our guest in the studio now is someone who teaches and directs and acts at UNC. He's a terrific teacher. I had him when I was doing my master's here about a year and a half ago. He's Ken Womble. He's also about to be an author. Lots of stuff going on. So first of all, welcome, Ken.
Great. Thanks, Dave. Great to be here.
Good. And so tell folks what you normally teach at UNC. Do you know what you'll be teaching in the fall?
Yeah, I teach audition techniques. I teach acting styles 1, actually. I teach acting for the camera and beginning acting.
Oh, good. You're going to be you teach 4 courses a semester?
Yeah.
Man, they can
sometimes
give you
5, actually.
You got to apply for a reduction because of the book. Yeah, I don't know. But so let's say acting styles. When you say that, what is that? Is that accents or is that?
No, that's acting in the style actually of 3 playwrights: Ibsen, Chekhov, and Shaw. It's actually early naturalism. So, but when you approach it as a student and an actor, and you had some of this in our class together, it feels like a style because it's the style of acting that was being done in Western Europe, from 80 to 120 years ago. So it's some of it's a little bigger than life, and it varies depending on the playwright. George Bernard Shaw, for example, is quite stylized. It's very upper class British, and it's a theater of ideas.
Yeah.
And
so, do you find that the kids at UNC, when you get them in as freshmen, do they have trouble with doing those different kinds of styles, or does it come naturally to some of them? Or
it doesn't come naturally to many of the students I've noticed. It's new to most of them. Mm-hmm. I mean, typically the first playwright is Henrik Ibsen, and typically not many people have done an Ibsen play.
Right.
And so it's new, and it's different because there's so many requirements that you don't need, in modern work, like the way you stand, the way you sit, the sort of stylized language, and so on.
But is it different, let's say, if you're doing a Shaw play, are you expecting them to use British accents for that, or can they still be American but have the physical stylization? Well, you're not going to ask them to do Netherlandy accents in Ibsen, are you?
Exactly. No, that's a really good point. Because Shaw is written in the English language, I think it's really important, this is my feeling,
sure,
to do it with British accents, to do the work, because it's written that way. There's a flow to the language that necessitates that, I think. But that's a good point. Ibsen and Chekhov, Ibsen was Norwegian, and
right,
that was the original language. So no,
okay, not Netherlands, Norway. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
Nice way to correct me on the air.
Somewhere out there, yeah. But no, we use standard. The students use standard American speech for Ibsen and for Chekhov, because they're quote foreign plays.
Right. Yeah. Cool. So, can I ask, speaking of doing something in a style, you are going to be acting in a couple of shows at Little Theater of the Rockies, which is the summer theater here in Greeley, and kind of is it a UNC thing, or is it just a lot of UNC people involved? Is Little Theater of the Rockies connected to this university?
Yes, it's very connected to the university. It was created, I think, I believe this is right, many years ago, over 75 years ago, as sort of an extension of the university program. And
forgive me, that's actually we have a phone caller. Maybe it's someone saying that we're not on the air. So just hold on one moment, please. UNC Radio, you are on the air, or sort of on the air. Hello. Yes, we're live on the air. What can I do for you? Oh, all right, we have someone leaving a message for Rabbi Saul Solomon, who will be a guest on this particular Tony program. What is the message for the rabbi? And you can say it right into the microphone.
Sure. I stopped at the place, the art space, where people are making the art space, and they're actually constructing a stage as we speak.
Oh, that's what. This is exciting news. I'm going to hang up because I have a guest here in the studio, and I've just spilled his water all over the desk and reaching for the phone. So already
No
fun
problem.
disasters. But thank you so much for calling in, and maybe calling later towards the end of the show. We can talk a little bit. Okay. Thanks so much for calling in, wife. Okay. Bye now.
Great.
Yes, it's informal
Live
college
radio.
radio, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah. By the way, we're here talking with my good friend and former teacher, Ken Womble, and it was very nice of my wife to call in. What she was saying was that there's going to be a new space that can be used for theater in Greeley. It's the art space.
yeah.
It's being used already as a gallery space, but they're constructing a little stage, and Rabbi Sal Solomon will be doing his two-man, one-person, it's sort of 1.5-man show called Shalom Dammit, an evening with Rabbi Sal Solomon. He's bringing that back to Weld County, thanks to a lovely grant from the folks at Weld County. And they're looking at doing that on July 6th at the art space in Greeley. So they're getting the stage ready. They're really making it nice. So thank you, wife
Great.
Joyce, for calling in and letting us know. Now, I apologize so much for...
no problem.
For
Live
interrupting
radio.
for that.
Great.
Yeah, library. And your pants didn't get wet, didn't
No.
I mean, from excitement.
fine.
That kind of. So, forgive me. You
That's all
were
right.
talking about LTR, the
Yes.
Little Theater of the Rockies, the
Yes.
summer season that they do here. And, again, how it's a UNC, was founded here.
Yeah, it was founded here. We had our 75th anniversary several years ago, and it's a really great opportunity for UNC, UNC fans to come and see the shows during the summer who are still here. So yes, it's really as far as the folks who direct and act in the shows, it's a combination of current faculty, like myself and other faculty members who are in the shows this summer, and alums. Coming back to be guest artists.
Oh, who are guest artists this season, or this summer, I should say?
We have Michelle Shoup is actually going to be. She and I are going to be doing Private Lives together. One of the shows in our black box in the Norton Theater. Shelley Gaza, who's a wonderful actor.
She's a professor. She's not a guest artist. She's a professor.
She's a guest artist who is a professor. Right. She like myself, we're considered guest artists, but we're current faculty. And Shelley and I are on Golden Pond together, and actually in Private Lives together as well. Let me see, Jason Clark, who graduated a couple of years ago, is in 2 of the plays. I don't have the entire list in front of me,
sure,
Dave, but yeah, there are a number of us. Matthew Herrick, of course, who's a current faculty member, and
he'll be directing, or he'll be acting?
He's actually, I believe, he's directing the Fantastics.
Oh, okay, cool.
And he's acting again with Shelley and I in Private Lives.
Nice. So have you begun rehearsals on both shows that you're in yet?
I have begun rehearsals on Golden Pond, and Private Life starts on Monday.
So what is your character on Golden Pond?
I play Bill Ray, who is the husband of. I don't know if people remember the old movie from
Jane
the 80s
Fonda,
with Jane Fonda and
her father.
Henry Fonda.
I did a black flip. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
right.
yeah. Well, Shelley plays the Jane Fonda character, the daughter who returns home after an 8-year absence, and the occasion is her father's 80th birthday, and I'm her boyfriend. So, it's a very touching story. It's funny. Wonderful actors also in it. Nancy Roy plays Ethel, the mother.
Oh,
and
the Hepburn role. People would think of it as the Hepburn role, I guess, if they've seen the movie. Okay.
Correct. Yeah. And then the Henry Fonda role is played by Dan McNally.
The brother of Tom?
The brother of Tom McNally,
Right.
yeah. And Dan was a New York actor. And he
was in Nixon's Nixon, I think,
he was.
years ago.
They were both fantastic. He and Tom
cool.
played Nixon and Kissinger.
Cool. And then, you haven't yet, so I'm sure you're memorizing already for Private Lives.
Oh, yes.
So, I mean, the typical actor question, is it weird bouncing back and forth between two very different, Private Lives? We're talking about a style of acting, Noel Coward,
right.
as opposed to real naturalism that is Ernest, what's his name, Ernest, who wrote Golden Pond?
Ernest Thompson.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, it's great fun. I mean, it really stretches you, and it's sort of like, like I said, I haven't really started Private Lives rehearsals
Sure.
yet, but I feel like I have because I've been working on lines quite a bit, and I work on them with a British accent and with the sense of that style because I think that's important. So yeah, it's sort of like it's a relief in a way when you work on something modern because you can just sort of be yourself. Because a style piece, you have to, do the accent and the style and the physicality. And
This actually, the question just struck me. Have you ever acted in a show that you had directed previously?
oh, boy,
Is that
great
weird?
question.
Yeah.
Have I acted? Boy, I don't think so. I don't believe so.
I always wonder about that. Like people who have
Yeah.
the set thing of, they had the show entirely blocked out and done in their minds. They did it, and then suddenly they have to almost be tabula rasa under someone else's vision. And I just wonder if that ever happened to you.
No, that hasn't. It hasn't.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just curious. We're talking, by the way, with Ken Womble. He is it what, an assistant professor?
Associate professor.
Associate. So that's a couple more grand. All right. In the Performing and Visual Arts School here at the University of Northern Colorado. And Ken is not only a professor, a teacher of acting and directing. He's not only an actor and a director, with, by the way, a fairly recent off-Broadway credit, because you were the voice on the radio in Freud's last
session. Yes,
right? Which
I was.
ran for like 4 years in New
It
York.
ran, I think, a little over 2 years in
2
New
years.
York, and
Yeah.
and I had a run in L.A. recently with Judd Hirsch, and it's being done in a lot of regional theaters.
Are they
as
still
well.
using your voice in all those things?
Not that I know of. I mean, they have the option to do that. They have the option to do it themselves, or there's sort of a package that you get through the publisher that has my voice on it.
Oh, neat. Okay,
yeah,
well, cool.
that's
But
good.
that's not a bad gig.
It's
But
nice, yeah.
the other thing is that you are in the midst of, and you also, I should say, a published playwright because you've adapted some shows for like Shakespeare plays for
I have.
younger audiences.
I've for younger audiences, I've adapted Midsummer Night's Dream, Romeo and Juliet, and The Importance of Being Earnest.
Now, before I even ask the other question
Yeah.
about the book that you're working on now, which I will get to, I promise. But where do you go with that? I mean, do you say, okay, it has to be less than 90 minutes, I've got to take out all the I mean, where do you start when you tackle A Midsummer Night's Dream? Try to make it right for young people to enjoy appreciating it, but at the same time, not to water it down so much that it won't matter who wrote it isn't Shakespeare anymore.
That's a great question. Well, I adapted it about 12 years ago when I was a performing arts director at a private school in Southern California, and we hadn't done Shakespeare before, and I, when I reread Midsummer, I said, boy, this is so accessible and so good for young kids, for high school kids, but it's too long. I just felt like,
Yeah.
For me, it's really important to hold an audience. I mean, to really do work that the audience is engaged every moment. Hopefully, so I knew I needed to cut it. My idea was to retain the story, not lose any of the story, because the story, of course, is
Right,
what makes it so wonderful. So I really, a lot of what I did was just cut a lot of the monologues, and I felt like I didn't lose much of the substance. Yes, I lost some of the language and the poetry and so on.
But the stuff that you kept, you didn't reword.
No, I didn't.
Oh,
at
okay,
all.
so it wasn't-
all
no.
Shakespeare's words. So in that sense, it's a cutting, I suppose, rather than, I call it an adaptation, but it is. But it's very, very accessible. I think it's been done. As a matter of fact, I'm really fortunate. It's the most or it was recently. Last time I looked, the most produced play by my publisher.
Whoa.
So that was nice. Or, I'm sorry, the most produced Shakespeare.
Shakespeare, yeah,
play.
okay, fine,
Yeah.
either way.
So, and I think Midsummer is the most produced anyway. But it was that was nice to see, and it's done in about a dozen schools every year for about the last 9 years. So
Nice.
it's nice, yeah.
And it's great that you're getting the royalties and not Shakespeare's great grandchild. Did they
is
have
nice.
kids? I don't remember. Did he and did Shakespeare ever have any children?
He did. He had a couple of kids.
So are there
history
any,
tells us.
are there any descendants, direct descendants of?
You know, I don't know, Dave. That's a great question.
I would love to
That's
know.
another whole conversation.
Well, actually, I should mention for Shakespeare lovers, in next week, unless it gets pushed back a week for another guest, but we're really hoping that on June 15th on my regular show, Dave's Gone By, we're going to have a brilliant and very entertaining Shakespearean scholar by the name of James Shapiro on my regular program. He teaches at Columbia, and he did this marvelous DVD. I don't know if you've come across this. It's called Shakespeare the King's Man. He did it for British television. It's like this 3 DVD set all about Shakespeare during the years after the Queen dies, and then King James comes on the throne. Because people think of him as an Elizabethan playwright, but for a good chunk of his career, he was a Jacobean playwright.
Yes.
And all these plays that he wrote at that point, like King Lear and The Tempest, were influenced by King James's court and King James's own personalities and family turmoil. And it's I can't make it sound as exciting as this series is. So anyway, James Shapiro directed, created that DVD. He's also written bunches of books about Shakespeare, including a whole one about Shakespeare and the Jews that I'm particularly interested to read. So check that out next week with James Shapiro. Anyway, here this week, right now, we have Ken Womble from the University of Northern Colorado, actor, director, and playwright, adapter, and author, because you are writing a book.
I am. It's an acting business book. It's right now. It's titled "Inside Act: How 10 Actors Made It and How You Can Too." It's.
Did they change the title on you? Because I remember that was having a different title when I was.
It's gone through a couple of different iterations, but it may change again. Actually,
okay.
We'll see. But I'm just finishing it up over the next several weeks, and our hope is to have it published in November. That's what we're shooting for. By Hanson Publishing Group, wonderful performing and visual arts publisher in New Jersey. And the book is really what I set out to do, and hopefully what I've done is to tell folks how actors make it. You know, that's one of the greatest mysteries, I think, for actors and everybody else in the business is what is it? What's the secret? And I'm not sure if I'll actually know the secret, but hopefully I'll get closer to it. So shall I tell you more about it?
Some of the people that you interviewed who are in the book that you're getting their careers. And, and it's also a very cool idea that you've come up with. It's kind of a unique thing. It's not just, okay, you went and you interviewed these actors who either made it big or at least are professional and working actors. Right. You also talked to...
I talked to what I call their success team. 2 people who are close to them. It could be it's been a variety of people: agents, managers, directors, producers, friends, an acting coach, but people who know this actor's work have known it over the years. And my goal was to go for this layered approach. In other words, to ask actors and their success team members, how did this person do it? And what I hope is really interesting, it's still interesting to me, is that we get each actor's story, that they give us specific events that happened to them, and we learn their turning points in their careers. And
Can we have one example, a specific example?
Sure. Boy, there's so many.
Great.
Deborah Monk is a wonderful New York actor, Tony and Emmy-winning actor. She just did.
She was in Steel Pier, I think, and what else was she?
Steel Pier. She's been in Curtains.
Right, Curtains.
She won a Tony Award for Redwood Curtain. She was just in Cat on a Hot Tin Roof, playing Big Mama, and Deborah is just a wonderful person as well. But she did this play called Pump Boys and Dinettes.
Right, yes.
Long time ago, in the early 80s. Played on Broadway for a year, very, very successful, that she co-wrote. And then after she did the show, she couldn't get an agent. So she didn't get the kinds of auditions she wanted, and it was very, very difficult. Well, she flew herself down to the Actors Theater of Louisville, because she wanted to work with them, because they were and still are this wonderful regional theater. And John Jory, who's also in the book, is her success. One of her
He's the former
success
artistic director. He's no longer.
He was then and is now the former artistic director of Actors Theater. And she really she didn't meet John Jory on that trip, but she got his assistant's attention. And then later he called her in for a role when unfortunately somebody had passed away, and she got the role.
That person's bad luck. What can I tell you?
and she got the role, and she for years then did all these wonderful leading and supporting roles at Actors Theater of Louisville. Well, it's interesting or ironic or something that she went to Louisville, Kentucky, and that's how she really started her legitimate career in New York. Because then she started getting straight plays on Broadway as well as musicals. So she just taking that risk to go and say, please let me audition, and then they finally did at her own expense, led to a pretty amazing career.
Is that a theme in the book, that you have to not only be persistent and lucky, but you also have to just make your own luck on some level?
Yes. I mean, so many actors call it luck, and I think occasionally it is just sort of luck out of the blue, but I, like you said, I believe they've created that luck for the most part.
Well, we're very lucky to have Ken Womble in our studio on the Total Theater Tony Show for just a couple more minutes. Before I have one last question for you, I'm going to put you to a little test, I'll bet you'll get this, because I did promise that in moments during the show we'll have some trivia questions, and so let's try one that I think you'll don't feel pressured. So Clifford Odets was represented twice this year on Broadway. 2 shows revived on Broadway. You have the Tony-nominated Golden Boy, which is up for Best Revival, and the recent revival of The Big Knife. Yes. Which one of the following plays is not written by Clifford Odets? Okay? Right. And the question, there are 4 of them. The Dark at the Top of the Stairs, Waiting for Lefty, The Country Girl, Awake and Sing. Give it a moment, because I want the audience to also have a moment. I'll read them again. Did Clifford Odets wrote every single one of these except one? Mm-hmm. Was the one The Dark at the Top of the Stairs, Waiting for Lefty, The Country Girl, Awake and Sing?
I believe it's The Dark at the Top of the Stairs.
And the answer is The Dark at the Top of the Stairs. That's right.
Yay!
That's Inge. I get them confused all the time. Inge versus Odets. But Odets wrote Waiting for Lefty. That was his first big political hit. Yes. Country Girl was that one about the alcoholic actor. And then Awake and Sing, of course, is another, the Jewish family and et cetera. So well done. One for one, Dave. Ken Womble.
Hey, can I throw something in real quick?
Sure.
I just wanted to thank you on the air for all your help because I did a lot of work, as you know, with yours and other folks' help to get my book, to get a publisher for my book, because that's sort of the big hurdle to get over. And you took a lot of your own time to read my materials and give me feedback. So I just want to say thanks.
Well, put it in the book and give me a percentage. That's all I ask for. But
we'll see. I'll definitely put you in the book.
And it was a pleasure to read. It's Hanson Publishing. When is it coming out?
In November. That's our hope. Right before Thanksgiving.
And the holiday season, so you can sell them in New York at the bookshop, et cetera. Last question for Ken Womble here is, you've been teaching how many, I may have asked this already, but how many years?
At UNC, I just finished my 8th year.
And before that, were you teaching other?
I taught at a community college in California, and I was also performing arts director at a private school in California.
So, can I ask, in those years, I guess it's 2 decades would be a fair...
close, almost,
Has it gotten easier, harder, or a little of both for aspiring performers, people who want to be on Broadway or on TV or et cetera? I mean, things have changed. Everything from color headshots are the thing instead of old black and white when I was coming through. Right. The fact that there's social media to get your stuff. I mean, what do you say overall?
That's a great question.
Good. Every question I've asked you is I've got to ask you a really bad question just for contrast.
Excellent question, actually. And I'll try to make the answer short. The short answer is I'm not sure, because there are many more on the good side. There are many more opportunities for actors, as we know. There's 7,000 cable channels and networks. So there's a lot more work out there. But at the same time, because of social media and because of the internet, it's really easy for actors to submit themselves for auditions and that kind of thing. So the competition, I think, is greater than it's ever been. I mean, there are more people around, of course, but it's it's really both of those things going on. So I think it's difficult to say if it's harder or easier. I think it's always been really hard, and that's what I found out in this book, because the folks who make it are the ones who, they do a bunch of things, but the main thing they do, the two main things I would say, is they work really hard and they're really talented.
Actually, the other thing I forgot to ask you is, you mentioned Deborah Monk. Who are a couple of the other people that you interviewed?
A friend of mine, wonderful New York actor named Robert Clohessy.
He was on my radio show a couple of years
really?
ago. He really
Oh,
was,
wow.
yeah.
He's on Blue Bloods,
Right.
on CBS, I believe, and he was just in A Place Beyond the Pines, a film that just came out. John Tartaglia.
Oh, from Avenue Q.
Yes, Tony nominee. Also, let me see, bunch of folks. Richard Portnow is a wonderful character actor in Los Angeles. Eric Layden, who was just recently on The Killing, and he's a fabulous actor, and he was actually a guest artist recently for us at our UNC LA showcase. Krista Rodriguez, who was just in Smash,
right?
Series regular in Smash. And that's most everybody.
No, that's cool.
Yeah.
So, and again, the name it's changing title. It might not stay,
Possibly,
but
yeah.
Look for Inside Act so far. But even if you can't find that, it's Ken Womble, Womble is the author. Hanson Publishing is the publisher. November is around the target date, and all I can say is it's been, as I figured, just so much fun to talk to you about.
Man, it's been great talking with you, Dave. Thanks so much.